Well, Vanessa Sturman is a plant-based health coach and expert speaker and has helped hundreds, if not thousands of people make exactly those sorts of changes because it can be a bit daunting. And she joins us now. Vanessa, good morning.
Good morning.
I bet getting up so early for this is no problem to someone with all your energy.
It wasn't a problem. I do have lots of energy, but of course, sometimes I do love a sleep in as well, but I'll pretty much get up for anything when it comes to talking about wonderful plant-based health.
Aha! Now, wonderful plant-based health. So first of all, how busy are you? Have you noticed an increase in people wanting advice on this subject?
I really, really have. And, it comes from so many different places. I mean, first of all, there is this huge awareness. Actually, if I'm eating more plant-based food, more plant-based whole foods, I should say, Oreos are plant-based. They're not necessarily healthy. We're talking about our fruits, our vegetables, our grains, our beans. People really know, actually, this could help me with so many of my health problems. And also people are so much more aware of the animal rights issues, the environment. So yes, so many more people are curious and are saying, well, I know now that this can be super tasty because we can see how many wonderful dishes we can have. I mean, last night I had this wonderful plant-based sushi and these lovely tofu peanut satay. I mean, it was absolutely delicious. And people know, actually, the food can be like this. Let's have a go and see how I can help my health. But that huge surge as well is because people are struggling so much with a lot of health issues. We've got, big issues with obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, even just lack of energy. I mean, we talk about that every time we speak. So many people are struggling when it comes to fatigue and IBS. And so people are turning to their diets quite rightly and saying, well, what can I change so that I can be really happy, have the energy that I really want and get rid of these health issues?
Okay. And that sounds like a great problem solver, but it's not that easy, is it? Because especially if we're not used to it. And I think it's definitely easier now than it was 20 years ago, for goodness sake, absolutely massively. But what do people ask for your help with most of all?
Yeah, so when it comes to the health front, a huge, huge mix. And actually, when you start digging down, you usually find that there's a mix of problems. So often someone might come to me and say, I'm really struggling to lose weight and I don't know what to do and I just want to be happy and not diet. I'm all about not dieting, eating wonderful food and non-restriction to your degree. But those people often also have maybe some other gut issues. They might have been told they're pre-diabetic or they're worried about getting pre-diabetic. So there's all these issues that end up kind of tying up. But the biggest ones usually that people come to me with are energy levels. I want to perform better. I want to be more productive, but also struggling with that bloating, maybe hormone issues as well. But they all kind of come together. And again, the fear of, what's going to come later if I don't do something.
I hear you. But what about the actual practicality of changing your diet like this? What do you find that you have to help people with most? Is it, I guess, being aware of things like meat substitutes and all the variety of vegetables that we've got, but also making food more flavorful?
Yeah, totally. And, you're so right when you say this could seem a bit daunting. And I think any change with our food can, because food is very emotional. We use it to celebrate. We love our food, don't we? That's why we go and eat, because, it can taste really, really good. And there's sometimes this association of when I get healthy, the food's going to be really bland, when actually it has to be the opposite, because the more natural flavors, herbs, spices, variety we have, the healthier it is. You also do not need to change everything in order to get great health. And actually what people have really loved and sort of almost had a sigh of relief and have gone, oh, you haven't told me to stop eating everything. You've told me to add. And this is the really important bit. I look at what most people are eating and look at their plates. And yes, we might need to make some swaps. That's very, very important. It might be right. There's a lot of cow's milk going in all sorts of tea, coffee, or there's a lot of meat in the diet. Right, here's how we're going to swap some of that out. But the biggest thing people can do is actually be adding into their diet. Looking at their breakfast, right, we could just be adding more fruit and some nuts to that. Looking at dinner, right, we could have made that spaghetti bolognese out of lentils. And actually what we need regardless is a load of veg on there. I even have people who are vegan coming to me who are not eating enough of the basics when it comes to these plant-based whole foods. And it's those really, really small things that we can do that sometimes have huge, huge impacts. I mean, I've had people really change their bloating, their energy levels, just feel more full and get rid of cravings, just from these little changes where they've gone, oh, I didn't realize it was actually more about adding, because don't forget, this food is full of fiber, and fiber is what our good gut bacteria eat. It makes us more full. It's full of vitamins and minerals. So often we think about that kind of getting healthy or losing a bit of weight with, oh, just reduce everything, when it's actually what we put in. And you don't even have to go fully plant-based to get all these benefits. It's more about, what am I adding in? Is it more whole foods? Reduce the ultra-processed foods and the meat and the dairy, etc. But you don't have to cut it all out to get the results.
I hear you on that one. Okay, that's quite reassuring, actually. People don't have to give stuff up straight away. What about the ethical or spiritual side of becoming more of a plant-based eater? Is that something that people talk to you about a lot? Because I know that for vegans, for example, rather than just calling yourself sort of having your diet as a plant-based diet, veganism is almost like a movement, not just a way of life.
Yes, you're completely right. I mean, veganism is the ethical stance. So even though we talk about vegan food, being vegan goes into all parts of life. So it's what you wear, it's not going to zoos. It's basically about not exploiting other living beings. So it goes into all different areas. Now, you can, of course, be vegan and not be healthy. When we're talking about being healthy, then we start talking about these plant-based whole foods. That's where we're saying things that are not ultra-processed and, your fruits, vegetables, grains, and beans in their whole form. And there are many people who are moving towards this more plant-based diet where ethics may have come into it, it may not have come into it. For some people, the ethics might come later and they learn more about it a bit later. But I think for many people, there's still a range of issues that they're looking to tackle. And a lot of people know, actually, I know the environment's not doing so well. And, actually, if we all reduce our animal products, that's going to be a lot better when it comes to land use, water use, climate change, etc. So it can be a real mix. But plant-based food is for everyone. It's to help everyone's health. So sometimes I think people worry, well, do I have to be a vegan now if I'm going to eat more of these foods? And the answer is absolutely not. You want to be getting more of these foods and getting the health benefits. And of course, if the animal rights and environment come into it for you, that's fantastic as well.
Yes, so it's a whole mixture. You don't have to be all one thing or another. Finally, Vanessa, now this is a fact I discovered from you, which I would like to share with our audience this morning. The meat substitute discovered by Buddhist monks 1,000 years ago or more, this whole fake meat or, an alternative that's kind of got a meaty resistance to your teeth, because that's what I would miss if I was not eating meat. It's not a new fad, is it?
That's completely right. And a meaty resistance, what a wonderful way of putting it.
Yeah.
That is correct. So there's a lot of talk sometimes like, all these fake meat products, which are fantastic for helping people, by the way, and so much less saturated fat and other issues than the actual meat itself. But of course, we want to be eating more whole foods as much as possible. And something like seitan, so this particular meat substitute discovered by Buddhist monks, which they did not wrap up and put on supermarket shelves 1,000 years ago, was literally, first of all, they are generally vegan because they don't want to harm other living beings. And what they discovered with flour, basically, is that if you kind of wash off the carby bit of flour, you basically expose the protein. And that protein on its own has that wonderful kind of stringy, glutinous texture when you basically knead it like a dough. It's almost like making like a big loaf of bread, but you basically make what is basically a big steak. You flavor it with all sorts of wonderful things. That can be soy sauce, smoked paprika, etc. And the more you're making this at home, the more you know what's going in it. Then you either boil or bake it, and it basically makes a plant-based meat. And this has been around for, what we said, over 1,000 years possibly. And it is almost pure protein. It has got that wonderful meaty texture, meaty resistance on the teeth. You can flavor it with whatever you want. So you can make chicken pieces out of it. You can make spare ribs out of it. It's absolutely wonderful, but it's not new. People have been looking at these different kinds of textures and flavors for, well over a 1,000 years, as we know, possibly even more. So it's also about how we make things, as opposed to sort of worrying, what's in the supermarket. There's all these wonderful things we can make in our homes. It's not just about eating a plate of vegetables. We want to have balance. We want to have the protein in there, the different flavors in there, and the different textures in there. And it's completely possible.
Got it. Wow. Vanessa, you are so enthusiastic. Which I really love. Thank you very much indeed. And, hopefully anybody listening may be inspired. We can find you online, can't we?
Absolutely. So please come into, there's a few things you can do. You can come into my Facebook group, which is called How to Go Plant-Based. This is for anyone just wanting to build in more plant-based foods and get the health benefits with, of course, delicious food. The enthusiasm and the recipes are all there with wonderful, delicious food. And if you're not on Facebook, find me on Instagram at Energize and Thrive Plant-Based. And I'm excited to see you there and share the recipes.
Good for you, Vanessa. That's what we need, recipes and inspiration. Well, good luck. And if this upsurge happens, I think you'll be very busy.
Absolutely. Thanks
so
Vanessa.
much.